is elucidate the comet's origin and whole evolution. The origin of cold comets has not yet been defined by most recognized science, because they have never noticed that they rise from galaxies, and of which galaxies neither well know its real effectiveness and objectivity, and for it is even necessary to know its real elemental composition, which basically is essential positive energy at reactive swivel incandescent, significantly hydrogenated, whose is possible by its relationship with the attached essential negative energy, also contained in the nucleus or center at even contrary turn, which constituted white hole as necessary support factor, for at its development as possible begin to achieve its objective task, consisting simply to spread from its meaning arms at the broad outer space, its small bits of same essential positive energy, which become the called astros, suns or male stars, but simultaneously also smaller fragments sprinkled outside from the blinding central white hole, outer part, which are precisely the called comets, with presences seeming to positive astros, but with very different effects and objectivity, however relatively compatible to common objective, because astros suns or male stars are generally destined to creating familiar planetary systems, permanently established for the noble purpose of creating life on planets, which married husbands like the men living, but not so comets, who limit their objectivity to only become travelers, significant single cosmic vagabonds, some of them possibly also destined for a systematic and tailored to specific path, to temporary gyrus explicit service superiorly determinate, but by law prevented to do the made by positive astros or suns, and limited to only what its passenger and distant relation with planetary system, to spray inevitably its essential reflect to planets and all whole body relative to them on their way, for with it which meaning negative influence to supply with essential coldness, and also to cause especially at planet what life an extraordinary effect of some environmental decomposition at life, living beings and especially humans, and to experience any possible attitude of awakened violence, but at the fund and general positively based to some desired justice goal, as it has been evident to what happened throughout history, and was ignored why this phenomenon occurred with that passing relationship. But although from ancient times has been admirably observed by humanity and science, never so far as here was achieved a better detailed explicit definition, so much of its real origin, quality, objectivity as complete development and ultimately final, existential completion, that of course, like all conceptual phenomenon and being, by to be composed of two virtual energies at permanent temporary relative effectiveness and irrepressible objectivity told, that by his excessive derivative were bigger than astros, and thus faster journey as an ephemeral existence, like the sun have to suffer unavoidable wear on its energy reserves to inevitably also experience a considerable mortal extinction, with the explosive fact very similar at the galaxies and positive astros, and when their B-energy ratio are effectively equated in proportional power, although at these cases always win inner negative energy material proportion, culminating at a cosmic explosion, because the sun's up absorbing all remaining essential reserve of the sun's positive energy, locking her inside ceasing to be sun, to then be red giant female star, only material and so with negative characteristics and quality at irrepressible evolutionary development. However, at this otherwise of comets is not the same, because a comet cannot assimilate and keep inside as the astros make all the residual inferior product or smoke generated by reactive effectiveness and swiftest advance, but only a small rocky proportion, which necessary base for reactive impulse, because it cannot avoid discarding scraps detached from its rocky material ratio, as well lacking hollow core as suns have. And although there has not been watched a comet at his mortal extinction, nor know the possible consequence of it. At this case simply also ends with the collapse, his apparent transformer disappearance. Also from material to essential black hole, manifested of almost imperceptible manner. At the cosmic space, at patient hopes to attract and swallow something. About its scope and proportion to it enrich for some time to have enough power, for again be back retransformed as comet or perhaps positive astro. Which fact depends on the quality and proportion acquired.